Well, the important thing, one, is that Nate Lyle's fine. He'll spend the night overnight for observation, but we expect that he'll be fine. So that's the best news of the evening. In terms of the overall game, I'm really very admiring of the guts and the effort and the determination that these kids showed here tonight. You know, our numbers were down a little bit, then they went down a little further in a hurry, and they didn't blink, they didn't flinch, and as a result, they have something that they can be very proud of.
Coach, in the fourth quarter and really the end of the third quarter, your defense holds them scoreless the final 20-plus minutes of the game. What adjustments were you and your staff and the players able to make out there?
Well, we did have to change a couple things in the coverage that seemed to help out, but really we don't really broadcast too much in terms of specific tactics. So we might have to use them again someday to solve the same problems.
And then offensively, it's a close game in the fourth quarter.
I'm sure you did.
73-yard drive by your offense in the fourth quarter. Snelling, big runs. Williams, big catches.
Well, actually, Marcus and Snelling had a couple plays in there that were just all about heart and will. And but they got a chance to demonstrate it because they had the ball in their hands. But there are a lot of guys out there that had the same kind of heart and will. And they deserve as much credit as the guys that you could clearly see that were carrying the ball.
Now, great win, Coach.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Coach, you had said that on Tuesday that you were a little concerned about, containing Reggie Ball and Calvin Johnson. Georgia Tech came in as a good road team too. How do you feel? How are you feeling about your team's ability to contain all that stuff?
Well, as I said, that the players really did it. You know, they knew what we had to do in a game. It was one of our best weeks of practice. They understood the plan. They understood their roles and what everybody had to get done in this, and they've got some terrific players, some very hard guys to keep down between the tailback and the quarterback, and obviously, Calvin is a rare player. His size is almost overwhelming, but Marcus did a good job on him, really keep him under control there, and just worked out real well. The defense stepped up and did what they had to do, and offensively, got us off to a good start, and then we're able to take control of the game there in the latter stages.
Now, you had quite a collection of guys in the secondary at certain points and on the nickel, and probably not the group you envisioned when you went into the year, but how about the job they did?
They did a terrific job, Jeff, and actually one of the things that we did say at halftime, we try to pick 3 or 4 things and say, look, here's what you need to do to win the game at halftime. It's not about cheering in there. It's about giving them some specific performance and production objectives that have to be accomplished. And we said we're going to have to, sooner or later, we're going to have to win the game on the nickel. We're going to have to make some plays on the nickel. It's going to come down to that. Can rest assured of it. And, they obviously heard what was said to them, and we did. We made some plays. We denied some patterns. We didn't come up with any interceptions or any sacks, so you can say, well, what were the plays? But we started to deny some routes and make it more difficult for them to get the ball to the receivers.
Al, everyone in that stadium was concerned for Nate. I mean, the long pause there, and then he's carted off. When did you know that everything was okay, and when were you able to tell the team to ease some minds?
It was progressive. While we were out on the field, there were a lot of positive signs, but of course in that circumstance, and rightfully so, the medical people are just as cautious as you can imagine. Every definition of that word, they're going to be as cautious as possible. He had movement of all his extremities on the field, but he did have a degree of numbness that was decreasing while we were out there. And then he told me at halftime that things were very positive. They had not finished the tests yet. Down at the hospital, there's still one left that they were going to take, but he's got all his movement left, a little bit of tingling left that usually comes with those type of things. So we were able to tell the team, I wanted to wait until I had more information than just at halftime, so we were able to tell the team after the game.
What was the effect on the team when you told them that? Was it noticeable?
Well, they were very happy, and I told them the same thing I said in here, that even more important than winning the game is obviously, I guess I could say it this way, and wouldn't sound like an exaggeration, that one of our comrades is okay.
Al, is this your most complete game of the year, and if so, could it have come at a better time?
Jerry, I'd say it probably, as I'm kind of scanning the game in my mind as you asked the question in terms of running the ball, passing the ball, converting on third downs, playing good stop defense. I guess it probably is, yes.
Al, last couple of weeks, Deion's been going through some tough times holding on to the ball. He was hurt last week. I think you said early this week it'd be a late week decision on him. When did you know he would play, and what did you see out of him today that was any different?
Well, Wednesday he seemed to really a little bit faster than the Monday night indications were, actually, Doug. Wednesday he seemed to really start to shake everything off, and I'd say once he got warmed up, I thought into the practice on Wednesday and then through Thursday, he looked like he was ready to go, and it looked like I'm sure you could see the same thing too, but he played with one of those I want the ball attitudes tonight.
You guys were in pretty much complete control up until the time Lyles went down. Can that sort of thing, I mean, it's hard to read into the minds of a bunch of guys, young guys, but I'm sure that sort of thing can have an unsettling effect and sort of at least distract you from what seemed to be full speed ahead at that moment. Did you sense that the team sagged a little bit?
No, I thought that I think a couple plays later we stopped the drive there and then went quite a few more series before they did anything offensively. But we were able to kind of give a non-medical opinion, Bob, to the players on the sideline very quickly. That is just on the basis of having been out there and observed things. I tried to tell the players on the sideline that he's going to be okay. You know, we're going to do some tests on him, but he's going to be okay. And that certainly proved to be the case.
Al, you have
potential. When they missed the field goal, you ran down the sidelines and got in the middle of the offensive guys. What did you tell them at that point?
Here's the opportunity for you now, fellas. Okay, you got to be like a shark smelling blood, and they did. They took the ball and they finished it off.
Al, you did not have the luxury tonight of rotating your defensive linemen, as I think you've liked to do recently.
Right.
Looked like Long, Schmidt, and Carter were out there almost the whole way. Carter looked like he got hurt early on. How about the job those three did?
Alan Billick gave us some good minutes, and Alex Field came in a little bit and helped us out. But really, those four kids, Keenan and Alan and Chris and Brendan, they did it all for us tonight. You know, they were on the nickel, they were on the goal line, they were on the regular. So, but they knew the deal coming in. You know, there's if no rest for the weary is a tried statement, well, it certainly applied tonight because there wasn't going to be any rest. There was only one medical opinion we were able to give Keenan when he got hurt there was that you're not allowed to get hurt today.
The all wins are probably enjoyable, but for a coach, for a team, when you're in control, the other team comes back and ties you up, and then you surge and take the game over and win it. Does that cause the blood to pump a little bit more freely?
Well, it certainly, I'd say, Bob, it certainly heightens. I have a lot of admiration for how they went into the game, but it certainly heightens the admiration for what the players did tonight, that they took every challenge that was in front of them, and it just shows, you know, one of the things that really good teams do is they're able to deal with whatever comes up. Okay, whether it's good or whether it's bad, and get on to the next situation, whether it's the next play, the next quarter, the next game. It doesn't mean that it always turns out perfectly, but, you know, the really good teams are able to do that. And that's a tenuous thing to hold on to in terms of being able to say every week, you know, we're a really good team because we did that. But tonight, I think it would be fair to put them in the classifications. Tonight, they were a really good team because they did. They handled whatever. They had the ability to deal with whatever came up and to withstand some circumstances and come back and earn themselves something they can be very proud of themselves for.
The end of the first half, it looked like you were in command most of the first half. Did you had some plans there to keep Georgia Tech from getting the ball at the end and the interception? What happened on that play? It looked like either miscommunication.
Yeah, it wasn't really from what I didn't inquire about it, Doug. To me, it was time to get on to dealing with the second half and not try to assess responsibility for it and whatnot, but it just looked like a play that didn't have a lot of sync to it. You know, whether it was the receiver, the read, it wasn't a very clean-looking play. It was unfortunate.
How that maybe taken some of of your?
Well, we
I
tried.
know you're not a momentum
We
guy,
tried to
but-
address that immediately at the half before we went on to any coaching staff discussions and whatnot. Just briefly address that with the players. But you're right. We had a pretty decent situation there as far as clock management and even the opportunity for field position. Then we got the 5-yard penalty, which really threw us out of what we wanted to do. Then we had the unfortunate interception, but it's probably one of the few not great plays that Marcus had in the game. He had another real fine game for us, really carried his team, and obviously on that last drive made all the plays that he had to make.
You guys kind of struggled in a few fourth quarters this year. How reassuring was it for the team to kind of be able to close this one out?
Well, in this particular game, it's pretty good, but you just got to go it again and do it the next time. You don't get any tickets with it that say you can all of a sudden do it again the next week. You just got to go do it again the next week.
What did you guys do differently this time? I guess more pressure on ball or from those front guys?
No, I'd say just better execution in the circumstances that we had. Obviously, that drive that we were able to put together was pretty well done. The players did a great job on that. And then from that point on, we played most of the game in the nickel. And as I said earlier, we'd kind of advised those guys we're going to have to win the game with the nickel at some point in time. And I think they stopped the last 2 possessions pretty much out of the nickel, so that was very valuable to us.
How much was Jackson going to play tonight had Nate been healthy and gone the whole way?
Probably limited.
Al, can you talk about the drive, the game-clinching drive in a sense, where you scored on the 21-yard touchdown pass? You'd said before, after the missed field goal, you told the guys this was it, this was your opportunity. Now, maybe the biggest drive of the season. You started with 4 straight runs from Snelling. Can you talk about, I guess, the drive in a sense, and then also why has he been so successful, especially tonight in the second half? Do you like the fact that he's a bruising running back after running Lundy in the first half against them?
Well, one of the things that's, we've always said that when he's ready to go, that Jason is one of our better players. But well into the season, he really wasn't ready to go most Saturdays. We weren't able to prepare him for the games. That also made it very difficult for us to be able to define just what his role is and to create a role for him that was significant in that, he's a little bit different style back than some of our other guys. And if you try to create a special role for him, whether it was at the fullback or the tailback position, and he's the only guy who's really in that style, then when he wouldn't be available on Saturdays, then that would really throw everything out of whack. So I'd say, look, you only have so many practice turns and so forth. It just didn't make sense to try to create a major role for him. 1, he couldn't practice it. 2, you didn't know whether he was going to be there on Saturday or not. Now, we've gone through a pretty good 3-week run where, happily for Jason, his health has been real good. He's been able to practice. He's been able to get in a groove. We've been able to set a role for him. And I think that, on a long-term basis, has as much to do with it as any specifics this evening.
Is this his role now, do you think? And do you like this role where he's able to come in?
No, this is the role that I want to have him in.
Al, can getting 6 through the 4 suspensions and then the injury to Nate and all the kind of obstacles, can that have more of an impact than just a win, than your average win? Because, will the team's psyche and stuff?
I think that certainly there's a lot there for the players to have learned about themselves and to feel good about themselves. And I think they're certainly going to need that, because I think we probably have one of the best teams that's ever played in Scott Stadium coming in here next week. So,
off that note, you spend almost an entire year now, the way college football is with these guys. Spring practice, you're the head of the program, fall, second week in November. Is it possible to say that you found something new out about this group of guys?
now, when we started the off-season program back in January, it was apparent by watching how they worked that this is the type of group that they wanted to be. And so I think that's what's very rewarding to them, that everything they put into it to try to be a tough-minded group that certain circumstances could try to impose their will, not flinch no matter how tough things might get. It doesn't always mean that you play great, but it just means that you're not going to blink, you're not going to flinch when things get tough, and that's what it was for them. And so they can feel reinforced for not a week's worth of preparation, but really 10.5 months worth of preparation for this.
Do you expect to have any or all of the suspended players back next week?
We haven't made any determination on that at this point.
What are your initial thoughts of Virginia Tech next week? I know you want to relish this win, but what are your initial thoughts?
I just mentioned, I think we'll be playing against one of the best teams that's ever come into Scott Stadium. I think probably be all we can do to get ready for them. They've had a week off to self-scout, to scout Virginia, to rest up, to watch us play. That's a big advantage. Okay, I know it's a big advantage when we have a week off. Okay, I think it's a real big advantage for them. But we're not going to blink. We're not going to flinch.
You talking about the execution of the field goal unit, snaps, the kicks, those?
Well, they were in sync. They were doing it the way, it's been a smooth operation all around. It's interesting that you bring it up. I'm glad that you did. Nobody's remarked about it, but that was a terrific play by John Phillips there at the end on the fake field goal. Gave us the opportunity to keep the ball and run the clock out. So I know the players are real jacked about that. They felt good about that, and probably gives John one of the higher career averages of any guy who's ever carried the ball at Virginia.
Coach, was that play called in the huddle, or was that a hot read at the line of scrimmage?
Well, we need a particular look, but we put the alert on to if we get the look we want, it's okay to do.
Now, you have 6 victories, which make you eligible for a bowl. Does that meet with any relief on your part?
Wasn't part of our thinking all week long. We never discussed it, never talked about it. It's really not in our mindset right now. What we talked about on Monday is all we're thinking about collectively, all 100 plus of us, is every time we walk in that building, thinking about what do we have to do to beat these guys this week. And that's all our mindset will be this upcoming week.
Coach, you guys have made some solid steps here throughout the course of the season. Do you feel you're playing your best football now and kind of peaking at the right time headed into next week?
Well, we've got a pretty good 2-game, 8-quarter stretch going on right now, but as I said, I think it'll be quite a challenge to perform the same way next week.
A lot was said last week after the rushing performance, but obviously it came against Temple, so we were wondering, does this lend a little bit more legitimacy to the running game coming in after what you've done against?
Well, it certainly should give all the players involved, whether it's the ball carriers or the blockers and whatnot, certainly should renew a level of confidence on their part. And it's certainly going to be necessary, even though we're playing against one of the best defenses in the country this week. You certainly can't throw the ball 65 times, and you're just going to have to grind some things out. And so when we call those runs, they ought to have a little bit more confidence than what they've had in the past.
With the quarterback like ball, I know you want to keep on defense levels of containment. You keep in your path. Were you happy about that? I mean, I know
I thought we did a good job on the nickel in those situations, keeping him within the pocket. He got outside of us on a couple of bootlegs there, and then the option play gave us trouble, where they were able to get the ball in his hands and utilize him that way. But he's a dynamic player. Can't believe we're going to have to play against him again next year. Seems like we've been playing against him forever.
You mentioned Nate. Did you actually talk to him on the phone at halftime?
Oh no, he was.
Oh, okay.
No, I talked to the medical people.
Is Dayon really becoming the kind of guy you had hoped he would when you recruited him?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.